Right, so just before we end properly, let's have a look at some of the other modes that this has to offer. I'm not going to be doing Galactic Conquest because while it does last a while and you can activate certain bonuses in it, it's basically just what we're going to be seeing in this part.
Well, I know that apparently there are some specific scenarios, like you having to experience how the Empire felt when they were attacked by the Ewoks, or as the droid you get to kill Jar Jar Binks, because this was the time where, it was the favorite punching bag franchise.
And Galactic Conquest, I think, lets you kind of form your own sort of story of sequences between different lands and whatnot you fought in. Again, to its credit, Battlefront 2 was a pretty packed game, especially for the time it was made.
If anything, I'm reminded of a comic strip that I used to read at the time, which is called Get Fuzzy, which is blatantly a bit of a Garfield clone.
Well, speaking of alternate scenarios, here's one. What if the droids just decided to invade the Jedi Temple?
I mean, they were, outside of kidnapping Palpatine, they were trying to establish aerial in stratosphere space in Coruscant at the beginning of Episode 3.
I'm pretty sure we got a few Clone Wars episodes documenting that too.
It just goes to show that the Republic kinda had, a bit of a weaker defense if they allowed the Separatists to get that close to Coruscant multiple times. They're practically their capital. But no, again, in this one particular comic strip, again, I was reading it at the time, and it used to have some minor story arcs about, usually some traditional free-panel one-shots, again, similar to Garfield. And one of them was for the human protagonist called Roger Wilco, no affiliation with Space Quest, I don't know why it's called like that, saying that he got a very nasty cold and he could not work, and when a co-worker asked, he says that he got Star Wars Battlefront 2, and the co-worker asked, can I get that cold after you're done?
Oh my god, guys, Darth Maul is alive!
And he's so, well, what else is new?
To be fair, I think even before, I think it was kind of always stated that he was alive.
At the very least, he's still relatively fine. Wait until you see Dwibs when he becomes a giant mechanical spider.
Yeah, I think I've seen that one.
Oh god, why was that a thing?
Because bringing back Darth Maul and giving him a new form was also another punching bag that the Cyber Expanded Universe allowed to do.
Jesus Christ, I guess I could give the canon...
him the voice of Starkiller.
Okay, to be fair, that was probably a nice little nod to it, especially since Darth Maul went on to... Okay, him surviving did turn out to be canon, also his brother and whatnot, who apparently did manage to catch Darth Sidious off on guard, so much so that he actually had to use lightsaber training, which Palpatine canonically hates using, even though he can actually lightsaber fight pretty well.
Yeah, but if I have Force Lightning, I'd rather just use that.
That was part of the reason. I wonder if also another reason they made it canon that Palpatine hates lightsaber using is the fact that,
could not use it, do not force Ian McDermott to, have being CGI to do acrobatics.
That's the funny thing, actually. Originally, they were going to have a stand-in actor for that scene, but apparently sometime around the last minute, George Lucas decided, you know what? Let's let Ian McDermott do it, which Ian McDermott was not expecting to. Samuel Jackson even said that, okay, they tend to get very fight with these lightsaber trainings, and he did warn Ian McDermott to pay attention. He didn't, and he kind of got whacked a few times during that fight scene.
Guy.
I mean, to his credit, though, for a lot of the swordplay, you are legit seeing him manage that, even when he was already getting up there in age.
The jump he does at the beginning.
No. You see, they just pumped him full of steroids and made him bench press like oh heck to tone his upper body so that he could do that flip.
Like a spring, yes.
Truly.
They spiked his midi-chlorians.
I mean, can
Oh
you
yeah, I
imagine?
remember
though?
that part, the part where Darth Maul died in the middle of the Jedi Council room.
Don't
Of
worry, he'll be
course.
back yet again. This time brought back as Mecha Godzilla. The fun part is people
They'll
try and
replace
get
those spikes he has on his head. They'll replace them with satellite radar. Little satellite radar dishes on his head.
I'm
So
genuinely
he can sense
surprised.
everything around him.
I'm genuinely
Because
surprised.
who needs the Force, right?
I'm genuinely surprised about the commitment that the Expanded Universe post Disney acquisition had in having the last encounter he had with Obi-Wan still be in the animated, portion of the Expanded Universe instead of reserving one for the Obi-Wan series. Maybe it was planned at some point, but I don't know. That's a speculation.
That reminds me, was the plan always for Maul and Ventress to technically be from the same species, the Night Brothers and the Night Sisters, or was that something that they... Yeah, because I know that by the time of Clone Wars it's revealed that basically Maul's species were the male counterparts to Ventress's species, the Night Sisters essentially. And yes, the Night Sisters did in fact treat the Night Brothers absolutely terribly, but yet that did not stop the Night Brothers from still mourning the Night Sisters when, Grievous did what he does best, essentially. That's the thing about Grievous. I will give some credit that the Clone Wars did... mind you, when I say Clone Wars, I'm talking about the CGI Clone Wars, not the 2D Clone Wars, essentially.
Just put the article, because, the CGI version is called the Clone Wars.
Right. Oh, God. I keep forgetting which one has the in front of, but okay, yeah, okay, well, the ironic thing then is when I'm just trying to say the Clone Wars series, then that kind of sounds like I'm talking about either now, doesn't it?
Well, it depends on how you formulate the phrase. Go on.
Basically, the CGI cartoon, while it did lower a bit of Grievous's victory and, fear factor and whatnot, it did let him win a lot and make him still the scourge of the Jedi, which I think...
And so the CIS took over the Jedi Temple and they killed all the Jedi.
Hooray.
The problem was that Grievous had to job a lot to the main characters who have to, survive until Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
I think Grievous's onslaught of the Night Sisters is a good example of, hey, when Grievous gets to actually fight against someone who doesn't have plot armor, essentially.
Okay. I can barely see what's happening. There are lights to indicate the path, but aside from that and the green, the lighting in this particular section is just bad.
Why is there green here? Why is there green anyway? It seems like we're in the Matrix!
It's, remember, it's one of the tractor beam rooms of a Death Star.
I could have sworn that the background was white, though, not green.
Technicolor shit, I don't know.
But yeah, no, and again, if Tales of the Empire is anything to go by, maybe a later series involving Grievous would let him be as threatening again as he was in the Genndy Tartakovsky series and whatnot. Again, part of me does kind of get Lucas's frustration that apparently Genndy did not get the memo with Grievous, but on the other hand, Grievous was so awesome that I feel like Lucas could have at least let him be.
Okay, I will say Bob Bergen does a pretty good young Mark Hamill impression as Luke Skywalker, which makes me wonder why the hell did they not just get him rather than have that god-awful AI Luke voice whenever he shows up.
Wait. What AI Luke voice?
Whenever young Luke makes an appearance in the newer Disney Plus shows, they use AI to try and replicate his voice, except it doesn't work. He sounds nothing like Luke.
You guys were already having Mark Hamill reprise his role for those.
Well,
yes, I know he sounds...
Yeah, I get the idea, he sounds too old, but to be fair, again, that's what I said for voice actors, but that's not even just that. It's not even just on a matter of the voice, which is already a problem in itself. It's also, as everyone noted, the fact that they had a perfectly good lookalike actor to use as a stunt double, and constructor, and they just CGI'd his, Mark Hamill's younger body on top of him. It's a literal skin walking case.
Well, okay, from what I understand, apparently what they did was a technique of actually having the actual Mark Hamill portray most of his stuff, and it's more so they overlay him with a younger guy for certain scenes and whatnot, essentially.
It's still way
kinda...
overcomplicated, and just, an idea, Jesus, of trying to show off, technology when in reality it's not working as intended.
For once, I'll give them the benefit of a doubt and say that this was them also giving the fans a moment that they wanted with Mark Hamill as Luke actually getting to be awesome and whatnot. Now, I will say this, though. While I might be okay with the idea of the AI Darth Vader voice because James Earl Jones and his family gave their blessings to that and he wanted to contain it, no, using the AI Luke voice is just dumb. Like, at worst, maybe you'll have Mark Hamill sounding a bit different, but he's still there, and honestly, at this point, some people are okay with older Mark Hamill voicing Luke. They were okay with that for the Robot Chicken sketches, and I get it. Those are more so parodies, but I feel like maybe you could... I don't know, maybe you could just have Mark Hamill voice a bit. I'm sure there's some technology to, like, edit his voice without it having to be full-on generative AI, essentially. Like, just do that instead, or again... let him speak as himself.
Someone in the executive is just doing bad decisions, and we don't know if it's just Kathleen Kennedy or someone else entirely, or a group of people.
Okay.
Probably,
Okay, if I recall correctly, when Luke showed up, and I will say this, all iffy stuff aside, that was legit awesome.
I'm a bit more iffy on the fact that they had to bend a bit established stuff. If I were to bring back the Dark Troopers, but they decided in order for Luke to be awesome, that they lose their lightsaber resistance that they used to have in the Legends canon.
Remember a bit in A New Hope where the rebels just stormed the Death Star and killed the Emperor?
It's funny, in the Star Wars Squadron, instead, that game that I mentioned about the dogfighting, the Rebels Alliance tries actually to create their own version of the Death Star. It doesn't work, obviously, because canon and all, but still.
Also, I see Dwibs is doing a nice throw forward to Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy. Basically, Star Wars What If series using Legos, which, from what I've heard, apparently Rebuild the Galaxy is actually legit good.
I like What If series like that, but I haven't seen it yet.
Like, basically, apparently for one of the sequences, we get actually the white suit Vader as a good guy, while Padme lives but goes on to become a space pirate when the villains of that era take over. I forget who were the bad guys in that regard. Well, okay, to be fair, it's Legos, Dwibs. Like, one of the...
it's mostly pay for comedy. That's why they had in the teaser trailer Darth Jar Jar, because the fandom was not shutting up about it. So.
Padme isn't pirates.
Okay, again,
honestly,
that's also the thing, Lives. The movies themselves and the cartoons might have not conveyed as much, depending on how much you watched, but there is a good sizable amount of expanded universe that tries to, for lack of a better word, expand upon the groups of the space pirates, for the galaxy in the different eras. There's one particular case, I forgot his name. He has basically a red armor and a particular, not X, but almost like shaped helmet. He almost
Wait,
looks
is
like
that the guy voiced by Jim Cummings?
I think so. He almost looks like a Captain R looks like character.
I mean, I could go back and land in the hangar and get another ship.
Too
but
much
I'd rather just die than come back to life, because that's totally how war works, right?
Alright, Lives, so what you're destroying right now, because that's your specialty.
Alright, so this is basically a mobile command post, pretty much. If you fly it into an enemy hangar, and land it, or I have to land it multiple times to make sure the ship doesn't just take off again with someone in it. And then the AI in this game crashing it into a wall. You can have your forces spawn from it and invade the ship. Now, the aim of these missions is to get enough points to win. You do that by destroying ships or destroying their internal and external main ship systems.
And I guess the ratio that we see in the colored, factions represents that.
Yeah, blue is Republic, red is Separatist.
And as we know, thanks to Knack, red's bad.
Of course. I mean, I don't like red as a colour anyway, so...
Which is funny because most of Knack is red himself.
Well, it's more brown. I guess he has red and everything, but it's mostly wood and brown, even though the relics are more like stone.
And yes, Timora Morrison does voice what goings on so far whenever you're playing as the Republic character. He sounds like he did everything all in one day, but...
And that's the comment count.
Okay, again, remember, this is like the early to mid 2000s. Like, game voice acting was definitely getting better, but, you know, for better or for worse, it wasn't like, oh, celebrity renowned acting for the most part.
That's the thing. He's fine as when he's in the main campaign, but here he just sounds like, oh god, can I just be somewhere else, please?
Found him.
I wonder if maybe that was the mentality. Like, you know, the story stuff is definitely more this or that, but maybe the idea was to give him some voices that sound like the characters are tired of the war, tired of the fight carrying on.
Well, now we're technically still with the same organization now, we're just the Galactic Empire. We're going to deal with that rebel scum.
Found him in the meantime, Captain Ipano. I forgot from what specifically he's from. I think at least a couple of the comic lines. But in episode 9 there's a cameo of his helmet during the celebrations at the end.
I don't recall this guy, but yeah, he would be another space pirate to add to the mix.
If you haven't seen it yet, Dwibs, I recommend looking up Skeleton Crew. It's one of the more recent series, and it's a very self-contained story, more akin to, say, again, not necessarily Ridley Scott's Alien, but definitely more contained and dealing with a small group of people outside of the big stuff. And it's
I've heard it described
and that one actually has the space pirates as basically the main villains.
I've heard of it described as basically Goonies, but Star Wars.
Pretty much. It also loves to reference the some of the stuff from the old canon that's part of a more, disliked part just for funsies. I already mentioned the holographic circus that's used as entertainment, but one of the creatures that was in the fucking made-for-TV Ewoks movie shows up.
Why?
Because referencing, it's fun.
Like, yes,
What's
nostalgia.
Next? Am I gonna see an AI recreation of fucking Whirlpool Brimley with a sword?
Oh god. Nostalgia is like a medical drug. Used in moderation, it's good for you. Overused, and well, it causes an overdose, essentially. And to the point where you're just doing it for no reason whatsoever. Like, okay, I can get maybe one or two cheeky references to something like the holiday special because, hey, cheeky or whatnot, but doing it to that extent makes me wonder, were there like unironic fans of those just on board?
There's also
with
the
that?
desire, Jova, that I do share to some degree, that if I see some bad stuff, I would want to try to salvage it for, something more positive. I can get behind that.
Oh, if that's the case, then by all means, again, I don't like to default to the idea of, just throw away stuff that didn't work and whatnot. Like, no, I think you should make it better. Like how they improved Jar Jar
Imperial
Binks.
Marine for this next phase.
Like, again, whether you like him or hate him, one can't deny that they definitely did improve Jar Jar Binks, mostly in Clone Wars, but Jar Jar went from being very, very annoying and borderline useless, again, some people even positing he might be racist, to being at least a more tolerable character, especially in the Clone Wars and whatnot. I mean, hey, one can even argue it's part of the tragedy that he kind of accidentally helped Palpatine get all his emergency powers. Although, if I recall correctly, was that the birth of where the Darth Jar Jar meme came from?
It was more about it was more about people speculating that was the dummied out concept from episode 1 that did not... What the fuck was that guy doing? That did not go anywhere. And honestly, I don't even know if George Lucas considering at some point, considering at this point that the meme has gone so far that nobody knows what the truth is anymore.
There was at some point a comic that hinted that Jar Jar might have that dark side and could potentially be proficient with a lightsaber, but of course, it's left ambiguous and whatnot. Jar Jar claiming that, he just accidentally swung the lightsaber that well.
Well, in 2017, Disney released a book by Chuck Wendig called Aftermath Empire's End, in which is established in canon that when the Empire rose, Jar Jar became a pariah on Naboo and lived as a street performer, getting shunned by the adults.
Damn.
But he managed to live long enough to see the Empire fall before.
Remember, he shows up in the celebrations at the end of episode 6 in the special editions.
Right. So Jar Jar got shunned by everybody.
Okay, I'll admit, this is where some of the special editions come into play since... Okay, the special editions of the original trilogy that I have and saw as a kid were the golden editions, This is back, ergo, when DVD was prevalent and Blu-ray wasn't really even in the conversation.
I'm gonna bomb the rebel ships using their own ship. They will never see me coming.
I mention this because apparently there were other editions made of the original trilogy that made additions upon the additions on the Golden Edition one. Like, for instance, in my version of Episode 4, Han actually shoots Greedo at the same time Greedo tries to shoot him.
Oh, trust me, Joba, remember, the definitive version of that is, believe it or not, the one on Disney Plus, because I think I mentioned in the past, it's called the McClunky cut, because the one thing that is added onto that is that Greedo is about to shoot first, but before that there's a small moment where he says, McClunky! That's it. That's the one difference added to that. I don't know, Joe. Kennedy thought it would have been funny. I don't know.
Did George Lucas sneak in and edit that?
No, okay, if he did, that would be illegal. That was, remember, Dwibs, that was the stuff that Disney added on their own. They had a specific visual in mind.
And as for the version of Episode 6 I saw, it has Vader throwing Palpatine over, but not Vader shouting no when he throws Palpatine over. So that was apparently something added in a later edition and whatnot.
Apparently, Lucas added that before he sold it to Disney Plus.
So that might have been like a Blu-ray cut or something.
Apparently at some point that bit got removed from around the same time it was added, that bit got cut out.
Honestly, is it a wonder when people don't fucking know which version to watch at this point and just wants the originals back?
Which apparently we might be getting some
actually
that bad. But yeah, basically though, I will say this: the version of 6 I saw also, I don't think has Jar Jar yelling "We set free," but apparently current versions do now.
Okay, there's a more easy way to distinguish that. Do the Ewoks sing Yabnab at the end?
I think so.
That's...
Oh, wait, no, they don't.
Because they, for some reason, they decided to remove that for some of the later version, which is criminal because I get it. Thematically, it might sound a bit too goofy, but I don't know. I think it fits with what was going on. It's definitely low key. As a celebration at the end of episode 6 compared to the grandiose stuff that was in episode 4. But considering all factors, I don't know. I think it fits.
Okay. It makes it just sound like any other old ordinary victory over the Empire.
Also, I like the song in itself.
Okay, so just to recap, the version I saw did have Yup Nub, actually. It also had Jedi Rocks, which, okay, I'll admit, I actually do like Jedi Rocks and whatnot. Like,
I don't like that song, and I'm a special edition apologist.
And I will say this about the special edition. Did it make things a bit of a mess in the long run? Yes, but honestly, I can appreciate the effort Lucas was trying to take to try and, connect the prequels with the original trilogy better here and there, and also, I guess, in some ways help people who might be going from the prequels to the original trilogy.
It also created a couple of problems on the long run, because, for example, in one of the special editions of episode 4, forgot if it's consistent, the ship that Dash Render uses in Shadows of the Empire can be seen flying around in Mos Eisley. In some shots. The problem is that supposedly after the Disney buyout, Shadows of the Empire is not canon anymore, so I don't know what that's supposed to mean anymore. Also,
clearly, they're from a pocket dimension.
Clearly. Well, to be fair, Shadows of the Empire does end with Dash Render and his crew just flying out of the known sectors to the borders of the galaxy. It also created a problem on the long run for my country, because all the scenes were added in a time where the original voice actors they did used for the original versions were not able to reprise their roles anymore. So we're basically hit for the movie stopping for a second to have completely different voice actors.
Yeah.
What the fuck,
Yeah, basically, if an enemy is in a ship or any other vehicle, you can use your fusion cutter, if you have one, to slice into it and destroy it.
That's the That's the true power of an engineer. Start praying, boy. So again, we just have this kind of dissonance that doesn't work. Yes, the moral of the story is I should watch more movies in the original language. I get that. It's just that it had the unfortunate problem that for all foreign countries, it did create this kind of dissonance. Obviously, it's not a problem for me at the end of the day, but it is noticeable still. At the very least, there was an attempt, because for comparison, when the Blues Brothers had a DVD that integrated some minor missing cuts, they did not even bother to dub them. They just slapped the subtitles for those few extra seconds. Like, there's one moment towards the end where I forgot the name of the guy that grew up in the orphanage alongside Jake and Elwood, has to explain the extra line to the other guys of saying they're about to take the money to send them to the convent, and the others say, what? For that split, like 10 second stops, that's instead its original language with subtitles, and then the dub reprises.
Alright, now
weird.
Now to wrap up this playthrough, we're going to be showing a capture the... Okay, there are two capture the flag modes, but there's a 1 flag and a 2 flag one. 2 flag is a little bit similar to this one, except you have to take your opponent's flag and bring it back to your base, whereas here you have to take a flag and get it to the enemy's base.
Again,
I do like the attention to detail on how the maps really do feel like they reflect the moves. If I recall correctly, I think Lucas gave some input for how a lot of the map layout should be for this game.
It also creates, because it's a massive type of multiplayer experience, we didn't talk about it, but it guarantees that you do get a cinematic feeling with just having the players, playing the game on their own, even the AI, without any kind of scripting. Just the players moving around creates that sense of feeling that everything is happening in an organic way, even though it's not. It's pure chaos, but there's an order into it. We saw an example of that, for example, in the Battle of Hoth at the end of the campaign.
Do you guys remember in A New Hope? Do you guys remember in A New Hope where where Darth Vader just flat out killed Princess Leia rather than getting any information out of her.
While she was very close into blasting him.
Yeah.
Oops. Well, at least she wasn't too important in the long run, I'm sure.
Sir, I'm pretty sure she had the important information about the Death Star plans.
Surely we can just find them or interrogate one of the many other soldiers here.
They're all dead.
Oh well.
What? I thought I told you to leave some alive.
You killed most of them.
Good help is so hard to find these days. Anyway, going back to the whole special edition stuff, one change that I know gets contested a lot, but I actually do think is a good change in the long run. And hear me out. I actually do support them making Anakin's Force Ghost to be Hayden Christensen instead of Sebastian Shaw. Yes, I know, to some that is absolute heresy, but I do think this is one of those cases where the prequels did actually get us to know Anakin more as that. And I know some people say, oh, but wouldn't it make more sense for Anakin to show up as Luke saw him? I'm like, dudes, the way Sebastian Shaw shows up as a Force Ghost does not look like the way Luke last saw his father, all pasty, bald, and whatnot. Shoot, different actors and everything, too, if I recall correctly. But I digress. Like, I think the best compromise would be have him first show up as Sebastian Shaw, but then show him fading back into Anakin, since for as hokey as the writing as the prequels do get, I do agree with the idea that him reverting back to Anakin as the Hayden version is basically, showing that Vader did kill Anakin, and so he goes back to how he looked as Anakin and whatnot.
The thing is that when you start doing that, that creates a precedent that makes people wonder why instead Obi-Wan didn't shown as Ewan McGregor.
Oh, that's because Obi-Wan died while he was old and good
There
still.
is
You
one.
see.
So, about the level, there is one quote that the stormtroopers give whenever they see Leia. It's actually kind of funny a little bit. They say, "It's Leia. Now I know you guys haven't seen a girl in a few months, but let's be professional here."
Again, it's kind of funny given what happens in the Andor series and whatnot, but I guess, there would be some problematic fellows in the Empire's ranks.
Especially
there.
after
The Empire itself is problematic.
Now remember, Dwibs, there was this whole hullabaloo when that scene in Andor happened, with some people arguing that, no, Vader would never let that happen. Jesus Christ. But one thing I do think they kind of passed up a bit on was the female stormtroopers. If I recall correctly, there were some expanded works that implied there were female stormtroopers. I don't recall and whatnot, but
or what was
I guess that
the First Order did had outside of Captain Phasma, did had the diverse group in terms of who they were hiring, but that was dictated mostly by how desperate they were.
When it comes to the whole Force Ghost thing, apparently the reason Obi-Wan is still old is because he was on the light side of the Force when he died, essentially. In the sense that, okay, so Anakin gets a special deal because, yes, while as dramatic as it seems he's being, apparently Anakin Skywalker was truly dead, essentially. So, basically, he comes back as a Force Ghost from when he died as Anakin, essentially. Metaphorically and whatnot. The Force do work in mysterious ways. But I'll admit, in hindsight, that does feel a bit unfair. That being said, obviously, whereas Anakin had, just the last bit as a Force Ghost, Obi-Wan had, the whole original trilogy as a Force Ghost. I do wonder if maybe a plan was to have Obi-Wan turn out younger, since during, that scene in Rise of Skywalker when Rey's hearing all the voices, we do actually get, Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan voice.
Because Alec Guinness was dead, and thankfully at the time they had not the idea of recreating his voice using AI.
Well, you say that, but remember, they were reusing a ton of voice clips, so they probably could have just dug in the archives and used some of Alec Guinness's voice clips and whatnot.
So there we go. Turns out the Empire actually sucked at invading the Tantive 4. Their raid was a massive failure, and all because they kept dropping a flag.
You
It
joke,
happens.
but again, this would make for an interesting what-if scenario where Leia actually kills Vader much, much, much earlier on, essentially. So,
I mean, Palpatine might just get a new apprentice from somewhere.
kind of would suck, given that was like his $1 million nepo baby that he created with the Force.
Don't worry, Jova. Remember, on Tatooine, credits from the Republic have no value. Alright, so I guess we'll have to see you for whatever Star Wars thing will happen next.
See you then.
See ya.